created a national marketing program to market the manufacturing capabilities within our community rehabilitation members. And I can tell you for your recording there that community rehabilitation centers are they used to be sheltered workshops, and they started out that way in the 60s here, mostly a little bit earlier than that some other places in the United States, but North Carolina really got going in the 60s for people with disabilities, physical, mental disabilities, developmental disabilities, who were coming out of institutions and needed to have things to do. And so we started taking care of primarily the vocational training needs. And you can't do vocational training needs for that group without doing some social development. We found out pretty early in there that most people, whether they have a disability or not, lose their job because of their social skills, not because they can't do the work.
Interesting.
So now, if you go interview and find out why people lose their jobs, most of it's because of bad behavior. So that's the same, I think, throughout all society. So we couldn't teach vocational skills without developing social skills along with vocational skills. So to do that, we had to have work, hands-on kind of work, and we developed manufacturing capabilities within our plants. As manufacturing has left our country, it's become really, really harder to find. Most of the time when we started out, we would go to the local industries and get work. Okay. Of course, as they began to leave and migrate in other places around the world, a lot of our companies started their own manufacturing operations. So we started a program called Outsource, and it's been fairly successful.
Has it been extremely successful?
Well, Outsource has been. It was one of our first really collaborative ventures together, where we all signed an agreement, put resources in, and we contracted with the people to do sales nationally. And it was so broad because everybody does different things with packaging and assembling and inspecting and that kind of work. It was kind of slow going. We had eight of our 14 members. What we do is a la carte. We have programs, and if a member wants to join, they can. So 8 of our 14 members joined in that over the first 2 or 3 years that we were working it. Sales have just now hit $2 million, and it supports the jobs of about 140 people. Right on the heels of that, we started our own health care insurance program. Now that's been a real innovative thing for us. And we've had that now for about 12 years.
Okay.
And it's not, and it's truly a self-funded healthcare plan that we collect the premiums and pay the claims ourselves. We're not backed by any of the large, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and that's been a really nice money saver for us. Our premiums, we've I think in the 12 years that we've had that, it's probably increased about 25-27% over a 12-year period. In the market, that's been about 125-127%.
Oh, wow. I know, yeah.
That tells you the difference.
Okay.
So that saved our members millions of dollars.
Right. So how many people are in the program?
10 of our 14 members, 12 of our 14 members.
Okay.
We insure about 900 employees. About 10% of that group are people with disabilities.
About what percent?
About 10%, 10-12%. Well, that's a pretty good number.
It sure is.
So it's a nice benefit. It's a nice program. And I don't know of another association that has been able to pull that off.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so that's one of the innovative things we've done. And the last one of the things it's not really the last, but one of our biggest successes was Mark Custom Medical Products.
Mm-hmm.
And we started that. We launched that in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So after it became sustainable at the end of 3 years, and that's our goal. We had a 3-year developmental plan for this initiative, and our goal was to create or save 250 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
at the end of 4 years, we were at close to 400.
Wow.
And 146 of those jobs were for people with disabilities.
Mm.
And the rest of, we have an integrated workforce.
Mm-hmm.
We have people with disabilities and people without disabilities.
Right.
And with that kind of blend, we can make it work. We can make it sustainable in the private sector.
Right.
No government funding.
Mm.
Now we got grants.
Right.
Close to $4 million in grants from private foundations and from some stimulus, economic development money.
Mm.
Not stimulus money, but we've achieved the goals of sustainability.
How unusual is that?
Well, it's very unusual. Private industry can't work together like that because they don't trust each other, and they won't trade. They don't exchange trade secrets.
Sure.
So we're over time we've just built a culture in our group of really strong trust.
Mm-hmm.
The healthcare insurance, from what we understand, wasn't working in the private sector because primarily the trust level.
Hmm.
And right now we when our insurance program, what the strength of that is, and this kind of follows along in everything we do, is when our insurance committee meets every 2 months, and they have for 12 years, we discuss insurance business and not a particular member or a particular claim.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know who's got the most claims, and we don't know who has the fewest claims. That's not what we try to do, because private industry would cherry pick. The ones that cost you the most, would kick them out. But we've got a different philosophy than that. And we've done okay with it. We've really done real well. This year we had to have our largest increase that we've had. And the whole time we started the program was 7% on our premiums. And we've had to amend our program quite a bit because of, in the last year, healthcare's just kind of gone bonkers. It may be because of the new changes that are in the wind that's going to take place. And so people are getting procedures done that they would have normally kind of waited on. So hopefully, but that's been a good program. But Mark Custom Medical Products is we manufacture custom disposable surgical drapes and other kinds of medical health care.
And how did you come about choosing that particular industry?
Well, we started out with a marketing analysis. We hired a guy to do a marketing analysis for us, David Kemper with Kemper Strategy, of our member groups, and we had some members that we knew. We know each other quite well. That had about 5 members that were making medical products. HVO, Haywood Vocational, over in Waynesville, a huge company. They're leaps and bounds further along than anybody else. But the marketing analysis, one of the recommendations was that here's a perfect platform for you folks to really pull together.
Wow.
So we had 9 of our 14 members join. And right now we've got 5 of them that are actively manufacturing in this consortium. I think our annual sales are in $7-8 million in that, just for that part of it. HVO sales are much larger than that. But through those sales, we've created a sustainable, socially responsible business.
It's fantastic.
Our goal is to create jobs, good paying jobs with benefits for people with disabilities and disadvantages.
It's fantastic.
Okay, and we've done that.